In 1908, the British novelist and essayist Gilbert Keith Chesterton published Orthodoxy. I can't recall how or why, but I picked up a copy of that book at my local branch of the Kansas City Public Library sometime in 2000, and I sat down in my empty one-bedroom apartment to start reading it. I can't tell you what compelled me to do this, but I started reading it out loud, and I have hardly stopped since. I'm Rocky Suppinger. I'm one of the pastors here at Fourth Presbyterian Church in Chicago, and I'm delighted to welcome you to a brand new series of Rhythm and Word, our weekly video devotion. Together with Roberto Flores behind the camera here, I'm going to spend these 4 videos introducing you to some of the writings that have had the greatest impact on my faith and how I talk about it. 2 books published 3 years apart from one another by the same Anglican author. My hope is that you'll find something in these words that have so shaped the way that I perceive God, the world, humanity, and myself, something that will challenge and inspire or even delight you. More than anything else, these writings have delighted me over and over and over again since I first encountered them. 3 years before he wrote the essay collection Orthodoxy, G.K. Chesterton published Heretics. He explained in the preface to Orthodoxy that many critics had complained that the earlier book merely criticized current philosophies without offering an alternative philosophy. So this book, he said, is an attempt to answer the challenge. I made a mental note when I read that at the beginning of Orthodoxy to read Heretics as soon as I finished. I did. And then I bought myself a volume that contained both books. This volume right here. And I read them both again, this time in the correct chronological order. And as I reread them, again, out loud, I copied down passages I found particularly notable here on the inside cover. And what I'm going to share with you in these videos comes straight from these notes. They're the passages that I found myself repeating in both casual and serious conversations ever since. Here is the very first one. It is scrawled right at the top of the inside cover. It's in chapter 1 of Heretics, titled Introductory Notes on the Importance of Orthodoxy. Vigorous organisms talk not about their processes, but their aims. It's right there on page 4. Here's the larger excerpt with apologies for the use of man to refer to people in general. It feels to me like the flow of the original of Chesterton's text requires retaining it. He writes, "For when everything about a people is for the time growing weak and ineffective, it begins to talk about efficiency. So it is that when a man's body is a wreck, he begins for the first time to talk about health. Vigorous organisms talk not about their processes, but about their aims. There cannot be any better proof of the physical efficiency of a man than that he talks cheerfully of a journey to the end of the world. And there cannot be any better proof of the practical efficiency of a nation than that it talks constantly of a journey to the end of the world, a journey to the judgment day and the New Jerusalem. There can be no stronger sign of a coarse material health than the tendency to run after high and wild ideals. It is in the first exuberance of infancy that we cry for the moon." I think what spoke to me about this when I first read it, and what still speaks to me now, is the focus on a subject. Though Chesterton isn't talking about faith here, still less Christian faith in particular, the whole essay that begins Heretics, Chesterton's entire career, it seems, was about the kind of outlook on life that faith should give us. For Chesterton, the prevailing philosophy of his day, fixated as it was on efficiency for the sake of efficiency, was a wrong philosophy. It was backwards because it failed to address the question of efficiency for what? Efficiency to what end? I kind of think the era that we live in is an era that is also hung up on efficiency, hung up on processes, and equally ignorant of aims as Chesterton's was, if not more so. We carry around in our pockets now technology that is capable of performing truly staggering tasks of computation, from sending simple messages to composing entire arguments using artificial intelligence. Yet as we marvel at these processes and their technical improvements with each iteration of a software update or a hardware design, are we asking about the aims, the purpose of them for our individual lives, as well as for our collective life as a society? The life of faith is a life lived toward purpose. Jesus, speaking after the resurrection to his disciples in the Gospel of Matthew, sent them out with a purpose: to make disciples of all nations. The Lord didn't really give them a detailed process for doing that, or insist on a metric of efficiency. Rather, he gave us an aim to pursue, a wild, seemingly unattainable aim: all nations. The strength of our faith will be measured, it seems to me, in our commitment to that aim, not in spite of the aim's grandiosity, but because of it. Vigorous organisms talk not about their processes, but their aims. God grant that our focus in these days may remain more on the aims of our faith than the processes, the aims of making disciples, sharing God's love with those in need, welcoming strangers, speaking the truth. Vigorous organisms talk not about their processes, but about their aims. Amen.